Great. Well, I was born with a Jewish passport. Not an Israeli passport, you see. A Soviet passport that said that I was Jewish. And that was pretty much the only Jewish thing about me. My parents were determined to keep my Jewish identity concealed, both from the comrades and from myself. Because history had taught them that if you live in a country which tries that hard to identify you as Jewish in your passport, it's best not to assist them in any way. In fact, it might be better to do the opposite. Like my mom actually changed her name from her Jewish name to a more Russian-sounding last name just to get into college. And as for me, I grew up, or I was brought up, not just a bad Jew, but an ignorantly bad Jew. So, I'm sorry, Rabbi, I didn't understand half the words that you were talking about. I apologize. But at 15, I moved to the United States, where, unlike in the Soviet Union, there are actually advantages to being Jewish. Like when I was 25, I found out that being born Jewish gave me a right to visit homeland for free. Not Miami, Israel, right? And a lot of you know what I'm talking about. It's the birthright trip, right? Give it up for the birthright trip. And so those of you who know about it probably also know that you have to pass a phone interview to prove that you're Jewish. And so I could see that being a challenge for me. But as bad a Jew as I was not about to pass on a free trip. Takes a second, right? And so I got my mom to fax me a copy of my old Soviet passport and a copy of her birth certificate with her birth name on it, Soy Herbaum. And, armed with that solid evidence in front of me, I'm dialing the number with trembling fingers, and I know what you're thinking, the faxing, and now I'm spinning the wheel. This guy is older than he looks. And I am. And so, since my time, they've changed the phone interview procedures, but back then, it was quite something. So I don't have much time, but I'll reproduce it for you in its entirety. Hello, I want to go on a birthright trip. Are you Jewish? Yes. Welcome to the birthright trip. What was that? They didn't ask any of the trick questions like, name 3 of the greatest Jewish baseball players of all time. Some of you are trying. Just trust me, you can't do it. It's impossible. But I was really relieved to be accepted so unconditionally as a member of the tribe, but I still worried that I would be uncovered as not Jewy enough to go on this trip. But my worries all but dissipated when I arrived to the departures terminal of the JFK airport in New York and saw the rest of my birthright group, because I could see that I was not the only one subverting the system. Like there was this one Australian girl there with her boyfriend. The boyfriend was clearly Jewish, so she had some Jewish in her sometimes. She did, but it wasn't from birth, right? And probably wasn't much. I mean, he wasn't one of those black Jews of Chinatown, right? So all I'm saying, yeah, it takes a second. All I'm saying, girlfriend wasn't Jewish, so I felt better about my own quasi-Jewish status until I saw between me and the ticket counters a line of uniforms. And the uniforms were questioning the people ahead of me in line. And I could overhear that they were asking questions about being Jewish. So I thought, oh my God, this is the birthright police. And they're going to identify me and my new Aussie friend over there as imposters. And so what I didn't know at the time, right, is the security procedures of the Israeli airline El Al, on which we're flying to Israel. Now, they have these profilers, or the human lie detectors, and they ask passengers these random questions, and they look for your reactions for any sign of a bomb in your underwear. Right? And that's who those people were. And because we were flying on a charter flight, our whole birthright group, they happened to be asking questions about being Jewish without caring about, any of the substance of the answers, just our demeanor. So all I had to do was I'm a bad Jew, now let's talk about how much I like pork chops. But I thought they were the birthright police, so I felt the inverse of what my people have felt for generations when questioned by officials in uniforms. I felt a panic that they would think I was not Jewish. Of course, a panic is the last thing you want to project to someone who is in actuality an airline security officer, but my turn came and there I went. So she asked me, "Are you Jewish?" I say, "Yes." "Do you go to a synagogue?" "No." "Do you speak Hebrew or Yiddish?" "No." "Have you had a bar mitzvah?" "Yeah, but it was fake. The beards fell off." No, I didn't have a bar mitzvah, and I'm freaking out because it was way more intense than a phone interview. And I didn't have my old Soviet passport with me as my only proof of Jewishness. And so I'm thinking, they're gonna kick me off this trip. And the lady, in retrospect, is probably freaking out too, because she's looking at me thinking, why is this guy so nervous? Is his underwear gonna explode? What's going on? So I guess she is determined to get to the bottom of this, and so she keeps questioning me. And being that this was the same time of year to the day as it is right now, she asked me this: "Do you know why our people celebrate Hanukkah?" Now, in my then 25 years of Jewish life, I have never learned the story of Hanukkah. But in my then 10 years of American life, I have watched every single episode of Friends. And the only thing I knew about Hanukkah came from one of the Christmas episodes. All right, so Ross is Jewish, so naturally he is trying to teach his son about Hanukkah, the way my Jewish parents never did. But the problem is that every time he tries, he gets interrupted, like when Chandler barges in dressed as Santa. And so the only thing that Ross manages to convey about Hanukkah in the entire episode is this: there were these people called the Maccabees, and that is all I have. JC, I wish I would have found you sooner. That was all I have. So instead, I'm standing there thinking, I fucking hate Chandler so much right now. But I'm not gonna let him ruin this for me, right? So I look my tormentress straight in her eyes and I say, Hanukkah. Well, there were these people called the Maccabees. And at that point, I'm finished with my answer. But I could sense that she was waiting for more. And so we just stand there, staring at each other in silence for like an eternity. And I have this image in my head of them taking me to a room and strip searching me for the ultimate evidence of Jewishness. And then escorting me in shame out of the airport. Don't turn on me now, I warned you I was a bad Jew. Hellenizer, some might call me. So all I could do was stand there and watch her face take a journey from attention to annoyance, and then finally to understanding. You're one of those Russian Jews, aren't you? She says. Make sure you learn that story during your trip. Have a safe flight. And so I got on the airplane, and my slightly more Jewish friends, when they stopped laughing at me, explained to me all about El Al security, and I felt pretty silly for getting all worked up, but still I asked them to tell me the story of Hanukkah. And though my parents may not be lighting the candles for Hanukkah this week, at least I can tell them why the Maccabees did it. Happy Hanukkah, everyone. Thank you.